I'm really quickly going to talk about tire pressure because like a lot of people have been talking about tire pressure and how, oh, it should be like at like 50 PSI or whatever. Different wheels, different PSI. Like Sheridan was just telling me like his S18, he rides that at a super high PSI, like 45.
Yeah, I dent a lot of rims and crack the Kingston rims. They have a tendency to crack under high impact and shenanigans you would do on an S18.
Yeah.
So I ride a really, really high pressure on it. It also helps the tire bow out and have a nice round contour, which can give me really good carving in the corners. I still crack rims, but far less with that pressure. And although it's really stiff, you don't notice it as much because you have a shock. So you don't get the squishiness in the tire, but you get the squishiness in the compliance in the shock.
But I was just basically telling Sheridan I'm embarrassed to say I ride 36 PSI on my V12, but if I ride it higher than that, it feels sketchy, man. It feels like squirrely.
That's gonna be because you have a 16-inch rim or 16-inch outer diameter, and that's going to be more nimble at those higher pressures. You're going to get that belly out effect like I was talking about on the S18 with an 18-inch diameter tire. That's not as big of a deal, but on a 16-inch, if you have that round contour, it's really going to make the turning radius sharp. Yes. Really sharp.
And that's squirrely. And that's that squirrely feel.
Right, it's just a sharper turning radius. You're able to control your turns with less input, which is beneficial at low speeds and dangerous at high speeds. Ooh. So for high-speed riding, I actually recommend a lower tire pressure. You'll get a larger contact path or patch, so you can grip the ground a little bit better. And this is for like high-speed wheels like the Sherman, the EXNs, the future like Commanders, or even the Monster Pro. But running like a tire pressure in between like say like 32 and 38 PSI is going to be your kind of butter zone. I ride at like 33 PSI, and I find that gives me enough compliance so I have a little bit of shock in the tire, yet I'm not denting my rims either.
Yeah.
The other thing is with a 20-inch tire, you're also going to have a little bit more forgiveness in low pressures with damaging your rim because there's more air volume inside the tire. So that 33 PSI overall has more surface area, so you're getting more protection out of a 20-inch tube than you do, say, a 16-inch at the same pressure.
When Ben and I changed the tire on the V12, it was very difficult to get on there. It was super like tight. It was like a two-man job. We were both like really like trying to get it on there. And he was like, "This is the first 16-inch tire he's done." The other ones were like 18, 20-inch tires, and they're like easier to change.
Yeah, you're gonna have issues the smaller the tire because the sidewall is gonna be a greater portion of the overall tire. So like changing a big tire, you have a lot of area to slowly work around. But like say you're changing a 16 or even like a 14 or even at worst an M10, it gets harder and harder and harder. And people are like, "Why do you charge so much for an M10 tire change?" And I'm like, you want to do it yourself? You try it out.
That's so funny. That's so funny because I was actually going to try to do like an M10 or a solo wheel tire change just because I'm like, oh, it's small, it should be easy. But that's not true.
That's not true. Yeah, and also scooter tires are notoriously hard, especially ones that don't have a split rim. So that's even the point of like why manufacturers will make a split rim is it's almost impossible to do one of the tire changes
on the super small tires.
On anything smaller than like a 14 is just like extremely hard.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't want to like work its way around, because like you'll find that as you're like working the tire around the rim, you can get under one side, but then you're like almost an inch away from the other side, and you try to like work it on one side, but it starts working against you on the opposite side.
So basically, with the tire pressure, it depends on your wheel and it depends on the tire you're using. So there is no like perfect, I post like, oh, my tire pressure is at this, and people are like, you're a moron, it should be at like 45 or 45 across the board. I know I see all these super high numbers and these people don't even like know what wheel I'm riding. People ask like across the board, like, what PSI should I ride?
I think it also depends on the make of your wheel, because every make has a different alloy that they use for the rims. And
we were just talking about the different kind of metal compounds with the rims, and how like the EXN rims are like really tough, and the King Song and the Sherman rims are soft because they put like a hardening compound. Is that what you said?
Almost right. So I would say that the Gotway rims actually are a little softer, but they have a tendency to hold up really well, and when they dent, they deform, and they don't cause cracks. The King Song rims are really rigid. They're like brittle rigid, and it's that strength that gives them their biggest weakness, is that when they have a collision or they fail, they tend to crack. Like, I could pull down one of these rims and give you a nice example. I have 4 S18 rims that I've gone through at this point. So I got plenty of examples. This one's got rim tape on it. This one here, this one's a good example. No rim tape here.
I'm getting a microphone soon, so you guys don't have to worry about audio.
Yeah, so just here on this rim, you can see a crack.
Oh.
And then a giant crack.
Ooh.
And then another crack.
Whoa.
So these rims don't deform without cracking, and there's no way to make this rim structurally strong again. At least in ways I've looked at. I might see if I can get it welded, but it's still not going to have the initial strength it did from day one.
Right.
So
you just need to
replace
it.
You just got to replace it. And yeah, that's another reason why I run a high tire pressure for King Song rims specifically, because they have the tendency to crack. So it's best to keep the road away from the rim as much as possible.
Good tips and advice from Sheridan.
Keep the rubber side down.
Good tips and advice from Sheridan here. Like I said, he's one of our local he has his own little shop here in his garage. It's really cool. It's really nice. I see he fixed it up. He's got his 3D printers. He's got a nice setup here. So those are some little tips and advice from Sheridan. He has more experience as a rider than I do, and he's also a mechanic. So I definitely appreciate his input, and makes me a better rider. So there's your PSI tire information with Sheridan, and his shop is called
Portland Wheel Works.
Portland Wheel Works. Thanks for watching. Bye.